And really what's happening is we're jumping all over the place. For those of you who've actually been reading along for the weekly readings, why did I go and do something like that? I hope you have managed to follow along. Today we are going through this portion of Genesis. I'm putting it in front of me because we are jumping all over the place just in case I need to refer back. Joseph had a dream. When he told it to his brothers, they hated him even more. He said, "Listen to this dream I had. We were all out in the field gathering bundles of wheat. All of a sudden, my bundle stood straight up, and your bundles circled around it and bowed down to mine." His brothers said, "So, you're going to rule us? You're going to boss us around?" And they hated him more than ever because of his dreams and the way he talked. He had another dream and told this one also to his brothers. "I dreamed another dream. The sun and moon and 11 stars bowed down to me." When he said it to his father and brothers, his father reprimanded him. "What's with all this dreaming? Am I and your mother and your brothers all supposed to bow down to you?" Now his brothers were really jealous, but his father brooded over the whole business. Joseph was running the country. We're jumping ahead now, folks. Joseph was running the country. He was the one who gave out rations to all the people. When Joseph's brothers arrived, they treated him with honor, bowing to him. Joseph recognized them immediately, but treated them as strangers and spoke roughly to them. He said, "Where do you come from?" "From Canaan," they said. "We've come to buy food." Joseph knew who they were, but they didn't know who he was. Joseph, remembering the dreams he had dreamed of them, said, "You're spies. You've come to look for our weak spots." Jumping again. Joseph couldn't hold himself in any longer, keeping up a front. Before his attendants, he cried out, "Leave! Clear out! Everyone leave!" So there was no one with Joseph when he identified himself to his brothers, but his sobbing was so violent that the Egyptians couldn't help but hear him. The news was soon reported to Pharaoh's palace. Joseph spoke to his brothers. "I am Joseph. Is my father really still alive?" But his brothers couldn't say a word. They were speechless. They couldn't believe what they were hearing and seeing. Jumping again. After burying his father, Joseph went back to Egypt. All his brothers who had come with him to bury his father returned with him. After the funeral, Joseph's brothers talked among themselves. What if Joseph is carrying a grudge and decides to pay us back for all the wrong we did him? So they sent Joseph a message. "Before his death, your father gave this command. Tell Joseph, forgive your brother's sin." All that wrongdoing. They did treat you very badly. Will you do it? Will you forgive the sins of the servants of your father's God? When Joseph received their message, he wept. Then the brothers went in person to him, threw themselves on the ground before him, and said, "We'll be your slaves." Joseph replied, "Don't be afraid. Do I act for God? Don't you see? You planned evil against me, but God used those same plans for my good. As you see all around you right now, life for many people. Easy now. You have I'll take care of you and your children. He reassured them, speaking with them, heart to heart. Here ends the reading. Thanks be to God. Do the young folks want to come up? Maybe. I know, we haven't really done this a whole lot lately, but we're going to have our children's moment. Have a seat. How many of you think before you speak? Do you even know what I mean by that? No, you don't do that? You know what I mean, but no, you don't do that. So what comes in here comes right out here. And how well does that work for you? Very not well. That's because some of what comes in here and immediately comes out here is things that you know you're going to what? Well, yeah, you know you're going to say it, but what's going to happen to you after you say it? There's a consequence. Very good. You can get in trouble. That's right. Well, you might get grounded for 2 weeks. That's true. And even if some of the things that we say that come in here and out here may be truth, the way we say things makes a big difference, doesn't it? For instance, when your mom and dad say, all right, it's time for bed, I love you, don't forget, you have to do this tomorrow, and you didn't like what they said, you look at them and say, I love you. Does that sound like you love them? But the word said what? But the way you said it made it sound like, but did it sound like you loved them? What did it sound like? Sounded like you hated them, or you were angry with them. The way we say things is every bit as important as what we say. And it's important to remember to think before we speak. And this isn't just for young folks. Because if you were to turn around and ask anybody out there whether or not they think before they speak all the time, you would probably find that every one of them would look at you and say, well, no, sometimes I speak before I think. And sometimes the way I say things don't come out the way I want it to. Emotions can be a really big thing, can't they? And what we're feeling sometimes affects the way we talk. Do you still love mom and dad even when you're not happy with them? So when you said I love you, you did love them, but you allowed your emotions to change what you were saying, right? So how do we learn to make sure that we think and take care of what we're feeling before we speak? How do we do that? This is something nobody wants to hear. But it's called practice. You have to work on it. I know you hate practice. You know what? There are days I do too. You want to play guitar, but you got to learn how to play guitar, so that takes practice. I remember learning to play an instrument too, and I used to say some really bad things toward my instrument. Well, our Bible story today is about how things have been said and what happens because of what we say. I want you to think about what you're saying before you say it, because consequences can last a long, long time. Joseph was telling about his dreams, but he didn't tell it in such a way that was very nice to his brothers or even his dad and mom. And so they got very angry at him. And they didn't check what they were saying and how they were saying things and what they were doing, and so they ended up hurting Joseph. And so what we say and how we say it can have a long-lasting effect, because it was many, many years that the hurt between Joseph and his family lasted, all because of the way things were said and how people reacted to what was said. So I want you to think before you speak. All right, let's pray. Dear God, we know that there are times that we're just going to blurt things out that we shouldn't. But God, help us slow down just a little bit to try and think about what we're saying and what we're feeling, to make sure that what we say